السلام عليكم. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Daily. My name is Ahmed, and in this series, I listen to the Quran in Arabic but discuss it in English. At least it's Quran Daily for this week. I haven't figured out my schedule just yet, and I'm recognizing that doing it 6 days a week is tiring. So I don't know. I'll finish this week and then I'll decide what I do next week. But either way, Quran. Heard in Arabic but discussed in English. We're continuing chapter 10, Surah Yunus. Before I begin, I must explain I am not an Arabic scholar, nor am I a Quranic scholar. I've not studied either of those topics. I am merely undergoing a journey to learn about the Quran and share my learning with you in the hopes that you might learn something too. And if you have a different perspective, please feel free to drop a comment, and I would love to hear your perspective. There are definitely things that we can disagree with. And the more that we discuss, the more that we exchange, the better that it is. So before we read Quran, I always say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, which means I seek refuge from God, from the devil, and in the name of God, who's most merciful, and whose mercy is most encompassing. Bismillah.
ويستنبئونك أحق هو قل إي وربي إنه لحق وما أنتم بمعجزين.
Interesting. So it starts with, and they ask you to inform you, is it true? Is the actual thing is he true? But we understand it to be, is it true? And I imagine that they're saying what is being revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, which is the Quran, which is what we're reading today. Is it true? So his response is, or at least the Quran commands him, say yes. And also find it interesting that it says e, which is like slang for yes, instead of na'am, which is more formal yes. And then it says, and by my Lord. This is whenever you say by my Lord, you're kind of swearing, you're doing a proclamation. So you're saying, by God, this is indeed surely the truth. And then say something kind of scary. And you cannot escape it. Which is like a very interesting way of saying that it's real. But that's kind of like the truth. It's kind of like, you cannot escape the truth. Which feels suffocating for those who seek to avoid it. So it seems a bit scary. You will have no escape. It gives me a feeling of claustrophobia. But I think that's kind of the purpose of this verse.
ولو أن لكل نفس ظلمت ما في الأرض لافتدت به وأسروا الندامة لما رأوا العذاب وقضي بينهم بالقسط وهم لا يظلمون.
So, continuing on the topic of no escaping, what are they not escaping from? And it says, and if that for every self, every soul, I mean, we understand it to be soul, but Sophists always say self. Nafs does mean self. And if every soul wronged what is in the earth, so did wrong in what is doing the earth, and then it says something that I don't really understand. لَفْتَدَتْ بِهِ, then the earth would seek ransom with it. Here they would say, but they would surely ransom themselves with it, but that's not the correct grammar. لَفْتَدَتْ بِهِ, because the object of the iftida is a female, and لَفْتَدَتْ بِهِ الْأَرْض. The way that I understand it is the earth would seek to ransom them with it. And if I had to guess what it means, I would imagine that, like, it's the idea of spreading so much corruption in the earth, burning down trees, burning oils, not caring for the ozone, and that the earth will get its value back القضاء والاقتضاء تعالى ماذا استطاع أن أفعل حتى أهرب من هذا العذاب. Thank you, Mike Murad, for that comment. I think he's talking about fate and that we cannot escape our fates, which, yeah, very, very fair point. But yeah, so the concept of افتدت به. Oh wait, yeah, no, you haven't talked about افتدت. And there's going to be a delay on YouTube anyway, so you'll see this in a few seconds. But I think what it means is that if all the people were to cause corruption in the earth and take from its resources without being fair, without giving back, with just being greedy, then the earth will seek to ransom what humans have took. And the way that I imagine it is kind of like the world will cause downpours, like ecological disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, storms, and the more that you are corrupt and the more that you take from it, the more that it will ransom it back. This kind of feels like almost a karmic reward within the earth. At least that's how I understand it. I do not agree with they would surely ransom themselves with it, because it's not they ransom themselves. It was to ransom. It would seek to ransom with it, and I believe the it is the earth. Anyway, it would seek to ransom with it, and then they will make secret their regret when they see their punishment. They will try to hide their regret, but they will be judged between them in justice. So it doesn't matter what they hide, they will be judged with justice, and they will not be wronged. They will be judged absolutely fairly, in fairness, and will not be wronged. Yeah.
ألا إن لله ما في السماوات والأرض ألا إن وعد الله حق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون.
Yeah, it says Allah is like surely not. It's kind of like, yeah, it's hard to explain. No doubt is an interesting way of saying. Surely is an interesting way of translating it. But is it not that indeed for God is what is in the heavens and the earth? So here it's saying surely it's for God. The heavens and the earth is for God. And then it says the same word, Allah, again. Surely that indeed the promise of God is true, but most of them do not know. Now, who are we talking about? Most of them? Most of the humans do not know. Let's see. يعني لو كان يمتلكون ما في الأرض لدفعوا فدية. Okay. 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 So the comment from Mike said that it's possible that if they owned everything in the earth, thinking that they can see, so what they owned, okay, the way that Mike is saying it is what they owned is what they are using to ransom with it. So like they've collected all the wealth and treasures and they're using that to ransom for their wrongdoings. I like that expression. If the wrongdoer were to possess everything in the world, they would surely ransom themselves with it. So try to trade their corrupt souls for what they possessed, which I can understand. It does kind of make sense, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, and then most of them do not know that God's promise is real, and this is most people.
ويحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون.
And this we've seen in the previous section. We've seen it time and time in the Quran. He who gives life and who causes death, and to him you will be returned. It is describing God and one of the things that God is capable of.
يا أيها الناس قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين.
So this is, I find it very interesting. Ooh. Relax, sir. 57. We're gonna have an issue. Then 57 Quran. Sometimes it happens. I find this interesting because the first verse that we started with, I said that it seems a little bit scary, that you have no escape from what is in the Quran. And then in here it kind of like clarifies on that topic. O ye mankind, verily it has come to you an instruction, a warning, a lesson, the thing that you cannot escape has come to you from your God, and a healing for what is in your breasts, what is in your chests, and a guidance and a mercy for the believers. So on the counter-side, yes, what the Quran says can be terrifying, and what it says as there's somebody always watching you and someone always recording everything for you can be terrifying, and there's no escape from it. And that these words that we read before us are an instruction of what that is, that you cannot escape. But what it does to those who believe is it heals what is in their breasts. And this is a very important topic. A lot of people get sick over the years, throughout their lives, and we call this a spiritual sickness, where they feel empty, they feel purposeless, they feel like there's no point to life, and that creates a sickness within you, and you can get depressed, and you can get mental disorders and mental afflictions. And even though you cannot escape these truths aren't brought down to scare you. They're brought down to heal you. They're brought down to give you vision, to align you with your soul, to align you with your higher purpose. And that alignment provides a healing for what is in your breasts. I can speak for myself. Before I had faith, I didn't want to make myself unalive, but I didn't really care about living. So it was very much a form of depression, and there was a lot of behaviors that were very destructive that I did because I didn't care. And for me, I'm all heart, and if I don't care, then it's not a good place to be. And throughout my crisis, throughout my finding God in a way and finding myself, and throughout the studying of the Quran, I do feel a healing. I do feel like I'm not completely healed, and I have to continue working on it, but there's something magical about the Quran, and it's powerful, and it feels like a breath of fresh air, like you're finally breathing for the first time, and it's a guidance and it's a mercy for the believers. So while you cannot escape it, you also cannot escape the healing, the guidance, and the mercy. But if you don't believe, it's a little bit different.
قل بفضل الله وبرحمته فبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون.
And here it says, again, we understand it to be the Prophet, but it's also something that can apply to all of us. Say, it is the bounty of God. It is by the God's grace, by God's generosity, and by His mercy. And so with that, let them rejoice that He is better from what they accumulate. And here we understand the wealth that they amass, the things that they're looking for. Salam alaikum, brother. Salam alaikum, Muhammad Zahaib. Thank you for joining my YouTube live stream. And we hope you enjoy the reading of the Quran. Yeah, so we can all say this. We can all say that it is with God's bounty and His mercy. And with that, we can rejoice that this is better than what they accumulate. And there is the constant lesson within the Quran that don't get distracted by the things that you want to collect. The home, the car, the family, like all of these things. are secondary towards your soul's purpose, which the main lesson here is to the return to heaven, so to speak, by finding the truth and living the truth. And that is better than whatever it is you accumulate.
قل أرأيتم ما أنزل الله لكم من رزق فجعلتم منه حراما وحلالا قل الله أذن لكم أم على الله تفترون.
So here comes a somewhat controversial topic, because I think it is something that I struggle with a lot of the Muslim rule makers. I obviously identify as a Muslim myself, and there's a lot of things that I disagree with. This was obviously talking about before the time of the Prophet, but I feel like it applies today as well. Say, have you seen what God has sent down for you from provisions and blessings? And then from those provisions, you have made from it some unlawful. Haramun, it means that it is against religion, it's against God. You say God doesn't allow this. And from it you make some lawful. And then the question is, say, has God permitted you to do so? Have you received instruction from God that tells you this is haram and this is not haram? And I can give you like an example I once heard once upon a time. It's not a common example, but it was something that I heard, like that music was haram at some point and that it distracts you. Or like during Ramadan, music is haram, for example. There are a lot of people that claim certain things are haram. And this is again where a lot of the frustration that I have, and a lot of the reason why I left Islam when I was 20 was because a lot of people say things are haram that aren't from God or from the Quran. And yeah. And then the question is, say, has God permitted for you to do so? Or are you about God inventing lies? Or are you inventing lies about God? Which is a very powerful accusation, especially if someone claims to be a believer, yet they're telling you this is haram and that's haram, and because this person said that or that person said that, I go, it's a bit wild to me.
وما ظن الذين يفترون على الله الكذب يوم القيامة إن الله لذو فضل على الناس ولكن أكثرهم لا يشكرون.
Continuing that concept and thought. And what is the assumption, what do they think those who invent about God lies on the Day of Judgment? What do they think is going to happen to them? Those people that are saying this is right, this is wrong, even though God did not say so. And then it switches focus and it says, indeed, God is surely full of bounty, لذو فضل, full of bounty to mankind. And this is a lesson that we say it in the Quran, but I also know it from Sayyidina Isa, Jesus, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, praise be upon him. He always used to say, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. Just trust in God. God will feed the birds. Do you think the birds worry? No. So do you think that God will take care of you any less than the birds? God says trust in him, and he will give you from his bounty. And the comparison is what they're bringing this is specifically about those that invent lies about God and say this is not allowed and this is not allowed and you can't be this and you can't do that. They're essentially denying you God's bounty. And that's why this is brought up. And this is why it's such a problem. It's... So God is the full of bounty for people, but most of them are not grateful, and instead they're hateful. At least that's the lesson that I'm learning from this.
وما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من قرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا إذ تفيضون فيه وما يعزب عن ربك من مثقال ذرة في الأرض ولا في السماء ولا أصغر من ذلك ولا أكبر إلا في كتاب مبين.
Are we gonna have this? Is it really? I think we went too far. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Okay. 61. We're having issues today, but that's fine. And there is not a single thing or any situation that you or anything that you recite from this Quran, or nothing that you do from any deed, nothing that you say, do, or read from the Quran, except that we are over you witnesses, if when you are engaged in it. So here is saying, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what you read from the Quran, we are witnesses over you, which means that God is a witness over me too in this moment, which has been interesting. And then it goes on to explain, and God, وَمَا يَعْزُبُ, and nobody escapes from God the weight of a single atom in this earth, nor in the heavens, no, and not smaller than that, and not bigger than that, except that it's written in a record that is clear. And this is an expression that we see also in Surah Al-Zilzal, مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةً, the weight of an atom. And this is kind of like, but it's interesting that it says not smaller than that, because I always understood the atom as being the smallest perceivable unit of measurement. But even within an atom, there are neutrons and protons. So I don't know if that means that, but I don't know why it clarifies and not smaller. I understand why not bigger, and it's written, because bigger than an atom it's concluded in, but smaller is a little bit interesting. But I think the expression would be no more and no less. You get exactly what the reward for what you say and what you do, and it is all recorded. That's the main message.
ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون.
And then it goes to clarify, everything is recorded, but surely that indeed for the awliya can mean like the close servants, can mean the friends, can mean the ones that are loyal to God, the allies of God in a way. For those people, there's no fear on them, nor will they grieve. So everything is recorded, but you don't have to worry if you are loyal to God, is the way that I would describe it. Close servants is an interesting expression.
الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون.
Yeah, it says those that believe and are conscious of God and mindful of God. So it continues to talk about the ones that will not be afraid, are the ones that believe and they are God mindful, keep God in their hearts, keep God in their minds with everything that they do.
لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة لا تبديل لكلمات الله ذلك هو الفوز العظيم.
For them, the believers and who keep God in their hearts and minds, for them bring God good tidings in this life, the world, and in the hereafter. And here's a very kind of important lesson. A lot of the times, people say, so what, we have to trade this worldly life for the hereafter, and we just have to have a terrible life, even though we have no evidence that the hereafter exists? And the answer is no. Believing in God and aligning yourself with God and being mindful doesn't mean that you're going to have a perfect life and everything's going to go good. But it does mean that you are going to get a lot of blessings from God. The more thankful that you are, the more humble that you are, the more that you appreciate. You're not just going to get a reward in heaven. You're also going to get a reward in this world. And this verse brings you good tidings of such a reward. There is no changing the words of God. I understand it. I understand the words. There's no changing the words of God, but I don't understand why it's being said now. For them is the good tidings of this world and the hereafter. And there is no replacement for God's words. There's no change in the promise of God. That is the success that is great. See, if we had removed La tabdil li kalimat Allah, if we had removed there's no changing God's words, it would still make sense. For them is the good tidings of the worldly life, and in the hereafter, that is the great success. Makes a lot of sense. I just don't understand why, while it's a true statement and I agree with it, there is no changing God's words. And I think if we look at the theme of the previous verses, I think this is talking about what they make lawful and what they make unlawful on behalf of God. Yeah.
ولا يحزنك قولهم إن العزة لله جميعا هو السميع العليم.
Don't do this to me. Okay. I'm not sure if it's... I don't know what verse it is. Let's say 64. This is the one that we just read, so it was 65. And let it not grieve you their speech. Indeed, the honor is to God. Innal izzata lillahi jami'a. Surely all honor belongs to God. Do not grieve over what they say. Indeed, all honor belongs to God. Yeah. So again, this is specifically applies to the Prophet, but it can also apply to us. For those that say things that God did not and then claim that God did, we should not be saddened by what they're saying. Indeed, He is all hearing and all knowing.
ألا إن لله من في السماوات ومن في الأرض وما يتبع الذين يدعون من دون الله شركاء إن يتبعون إلا الظن وإن هم إلا يخرصون.
Surely it is to God belongs, to God, inna lillahi, to God belongs whoever is in the heavens and whoever is in the earth. So we all belong to God, even those that claim to have guidance that they don't. And وَمَا يَتَّبَعُ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ, and those who invoke without God other than partners, and what they follow. وَمَا يَتَّبَعُ, what do they follow? Those who invoke without God partners. They're only following except their assumptions, and وَإِنَّهُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ, and they are, but here it says lying, and I feel like that's more accurate than guessing, because adhan is the assumption, guess. يَخْرُصُون is like, it feels like saying the wrong things or saying nonsense, so to speak.
هو الذي جعل لكم الليل لتسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يسمعون.
God is the one who made for you the night so that you may rest in it, and the day that is bright and that gives visibility. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who listen. And again, this talks about the beauty of the world and how it seems to make sense, and how there's daylight and then nighttime, and different activities for different parts, and we get to rest at night, and it is a sign.
قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا سبحانه هو الغني له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض إن عندكم من سلطان بهذا أتقولون على الله ما لا تعلمون.
And then here we have, you'll know exactly who this is talking about. They say God has taken a son. And it says, glory be to He, glory be to God. He is self-sufficient. And we've seen this in other expressions of the Quran, where it says, why does God need a son? He owns everything. Everything belongs to Him. Why does He need specifically a son? To Him belongs whatever's in the heavens and in the earth, exactly as I said. And then it says, if you have any sort of authority with this, like, where did you get this information from? Who told you this? Because even the Bible does not say that. Well, okay, let's not get into what the Bible says, because it gets a little bit complicated. But the idea that, let's also not get too complicated. It just says, if you have any authority over this, tell us, where did you get this information from, that Jesus was the Son of God? Obviously, the Bible has people claiming that they heard Jesus saying that, but let's not get into it. And then it says, do you say about God what you do not know? Which I think the answer is yes.
قل إن الذين يفترون على الله الكذب لا يفلحون.
Say, and this is, we can all say this, indeed those who invent about God lies will not succeed. Very clear.
متاع في الدنيا ثم إلينا مرجعهم ثم نذيقهم العذاب الشديد بما كانوا يكفرون.
So it's continuing. Those will never succeed. What they will get is an enjoyment in this world, they'll live this life, they'll enjoy it, they'll do whatever they want, those people who spread lies about gods. And then to us they will return, and then we will make them taste a punishment that is severe because of what they used to disbelief, for their disbelief, for what they used to. Essentially, the lies about God is the disbelief. I always find that we're finished. That's the last verse for today. I always find that I'm more tired before I start the Quran until after it. And it's kind of like this weird confusion that, I'm too tired to read the Quran. And then I read the Quran and I'm like, it's actually very enlightening, and it's interesting, and it's a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be, and my brain's actively engaged. So maybe I will continue daily. I mean, we have one more episode tomorrow, and then I take a break on Sunday, and then back on Monday. But as usual, we always end with Sadaqallahu al-Ali al-Azim, which means trusted is the words of God who is most exalted. And I thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys tomorrow on YouTube. Ma'as-salama.